2024 has not been a great year for Alabama notary signing agents. The number of closing requests don't come close to what it was like during COVID, and the average closing fee being offered in 2024 is well below $100. As we near the end of December, there's no indication that things are going to get any better in 2025. In an effort to get more closing assignments, some notary signing agents have made the decision to cross state lines and conduct closings in neighboring states. In this video, we're going to take a look at notary laws for Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi to see if this is a legal option for Alabama notaries and signing agents to consider. Whenever I do training, mentoring, or educational videos, I like to consult sources that know way more than I know. And so for this video, I turned to a well-respected, published source, Michael Closen. He has a Juris Doctorate degree. He is a notary expert witness throughout the United States, and he is the author of many books. I own two of his books called Professor Closen's Notary Best Practices. Just notice I left off a quotation mark. Michael Closen defines jurisdiction, a word that will come up quite a bit in this video, as being the statewide or territory-wide area within which a notary is authorized to act. And jurisdiction isn't just limited to notaries, as many of you know. I was thinking of my dad's favorite TV show years ago, Smokey and the Bandit, and one of the things they would do is speed and wreak havoc in their small town and then outrun the cops. And they would do that by leaving their home county and racing to a different jurisdiction, a different county, state, so that the police officers would have to stop chasing them. And while no one is chasing us notaries, we need to pay close attention to jurisdiction and make sure that we are only acting within our approved jurisdiction, which for most of us is the state of Alabama. Closing goes on to say that the notary should perform document notarizations only within the jurisdiction or geographic boundaries where the notary is authorized to act. So with this statement, he's admitting that some notaries might be able to travel outside of their state, but again, that is something that each state governs or dictates. So it's really important for us notaries to make sure we're complying with those guidelines at all times. The other thing that I want to point out is in this video, I'm only focusing on in-person, in-person notarizations and closings. We're not talking about remote notarization at all. So as we go from slide to slide, I want you to think about, all right, when can you get in your car and drive across the state line in order to perform a notarization? Now, even though I sound or can sound really smart and sound like an authority, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, and so don't consider the information in this presentation to be legal advice because it isn't. I'm simply sharing with you information that has been reviewed and validated by other sources to help you come to the right decision for you. Um, those who don't know me, my name is Michelle. I've been in the notary business for just about 20 years, and I've been a notary business owner, a former notary signing agent, and someone who enjoys digging in the details, researching topics, because I always want to make sure that I comply with the current laws for the state. The other resource that I used in order to put this presentation together was the National Notary Association. Most of you know by now that I've been a member for a number of years, and I really enjoy the information they provide. And so you can look this up for yourself by going to nationalnotary.org. Go ahead, use the search feature and type in US Notary Reference. It's a really good page or section on the NNA's website where you can pull up information about state laws for all 50 states. And for what we'll be covering in this presentation, each of the state information showed a updated or revised date of December 2024. And so I feel comfortable that what I'll be sharing with you is up to date. So again, we're going to be looking at information about how each of those states define jurisdiction, how each of the states in question also define residency status, meaning who can be a notary in their state. And we're going to also look at what the non-residency requirements are for the states. What does it take for someone who doesn't live in Alabama or live in Tennessee or Georgia to become a notary for that state? So again, normally when I do something like this, I have to check a lot of different sources. And it takes forever, but thank you, NNA, for putting it all in one location and making it easier for me. All right, let's see what state we're going to look at first. Let's go ahead and look at our home state, the state of Alabama. This one should be a no-brainer for most of us. We are statewide Alabama notaries. Now, some of us haven't always been statewide. Prior to 2012, there were a number of Alabama notaries who could only notarize in their county. But after January 1, 2012, think it was January 20, I know it was 2012. Alabama changed its law to say notaries would start being state at large or statewide. And what that means is someone like me who resides in North Alabama can get in my car and drive anywhere throughout the state and conduct notarizations. I am well within my jurisdiction and complying with Alabama law to do that. In order to be a commissioned Alabama notary, you must be a resident, and non-residents are not able to be appointed or commissioned. And so there should be no one who resides in a state other than Alabama holding an Alabama notary commission. Plain as, it's pretty plain, pretty vanilla. Now for the state of Georgia. Georgia, they are also statewide notaries. And so from north to south, east to west, Georgia notaries can notarize throughout their state. They must be, in order to be eligible to hold a notary commission in the state of Georgia, you must be a legal resident of the state. And then the third requirement is if you're a resident of a bordering state and you work in Georgia or you have a business in Georgia, you could be eligible to be a Georgia notary. So states that border Georgia would be Alabama, Tennessee, maybe Carolina, I'm not sure, and Florida. Okay, those for sure. I'm sorry, I don't have a US map in front of me. But I know Florida borders southern Georgia, Alabama borders western Georgia, Tennessee definitely borders North Georgia, and again, maybe a small part of the Carolinas. I am not sure about that. And so if you reside, now I'm talking specifically to Alabama residents, we are a resident of a bordering state. And so if we work in Georgia, or if we have a business in Georgia, we can apply for a Georgia Notary Commission. Make sure we satisfy all their other requirements. And there is a possibility that we will receive a Georgia Notary Commission. I hope that made somebody's day. Moving on to Florida. Florida notaries, their jurisdiction is also statewide. You must be a legal resident of Florida, and non-residents, non-Florida residents are not allowed to become commission notaries. Short and to the point. Florida put their foot down. You got to be a legal resident to obtain a Florida notary commission, period, the end. Good old Tennessee. What are they talking about? Tennessee's jurisdiction is also statewide. You must be a resident of Tennessee, but we've got a third bullet. A non-resident who maintains a principal place of business in Tennessee. All right, who's a non-resident? Someone who doesn't live or reside in Tennessee. And notice they didn't include the requirement of bordering states. What this implies to me is if a resident of California who maintains a principal place of business in Tennessee, that Californian could apply for a notary commission and may be approved as long as they satisfy the other requirements. Okay, so far, Georgia and Tennessee are the two states who do make allowances for non-residents to become notaries in their states. Last but not least, let's take a look at Mississippi. Statewide jurisdiction, you must be a resident of Mississippi. Non-residents cannot be commissioned. Again, short and to the point. Before we move on, I've pressed pause and I asked my phone to tell me which states border Georgia. And so those of you in North Carolina and South Carolina, there you also border Georgia. So keep that in mind. Of course, we've got Alabama to the west, Tennessee to the north, and then you have kind of north and kitty corner, the Carolinas, and Florida to the south. So there are more states in play as far as that is concerned. All right. Now moving on to considerations. Now that we've covered the different states, I want to look more closely at what this means to each of us. All right, especially Alabama notaries. So we did see where one state had the requirement you have to work in our state or have a business in our state. That was Georgia. And so what that says to me is, me being an Alabama resident, if I accept a job in the state of Georgia and my employer asks me to become a notary so I can notarize at work, there should be no issue with that. All right, I satisfy the employment or work requirement. In order for me to have a business in Georgia, that would mean I'm self-employed and have taken the steps to establish a business in the state of Georgia. Now, I have no idea what those requirements are. Those of you who are interested, you'll need to do that research. In most states, you'll need a business license. You may need to report your earnings the income that you earn in Georgia to Georgia, in addition to the IRS. So whatever Georgia requires of you as a business owner, you will need to satisfy that requirement or maintain employment in the state of Georgia. And again, we're talking about in-person notarizations. Remember, Tennessee used the language you must have, or the person must have a principal place of business. Interesting. What does the word principal mean? It probably means something to you, something slightly different to me. So I think it's important that you find out what Tennessee means by principal place of business. To me, it suggests a physical brick and mortar business or location. A reason why I say that, when I was a full-time notary signing agent for a couple of years, a title company that kept me very busy spoke with me about possibly covering loan closings in Tennessee for them. And we put our heads together. We did our individual research and phone calls, and we were in agreement that it did not behoove us, it did not make good business sense for an Alabama resident who is also a commissioned Alabama notary to conduct loan closings in the state of Tennessee. I know my interpretation of a principal place of business is not the same thing as me driving to Tennessee, locating the UPS store and renting out a mailbox, or going to the post office and renting out a P.O. box to give the appearance that I have a business in Tennessee. And so again, you would need to contact Chamber of Commerce, contact the state, local authorities there to find out what it takes to establish a principal place of business in the state, in that specific city and or county. Another consideration you need to make prior to leaving the safety zone of Alabama and venturing to other states is your notary bond, insurance, and official notary seal. I say that because These three things are state specific. Your Alabama $50,000 notary bond will not help you in Georgia or any other state. It is specific to the state of Alabama. There's language in the bond policy that says this. In fact, Georgia notaries aren't required to be bonded. Now, who knows? Georgia might require a bond for those of you who are non-residents. That might be a requirement. I don't know. Notary errors and omission insurance, same thing. The E&O policy that I have currently clearly states it is for Alabama, my Alabama commission. That is it. My seal has Alabama, not Georgia, not Tennessee, or any other state. And so if you go down this path, you will need to purchase another bond if that state requires it. And I believe all of the states that we're talking about in this video require a bond with the exception of Georgia. And yes, purchasing another E&O insurance policy and another embosser or stamp with your seal on it, all for the states that you were performing notarizations. Another consideration is that the notary laws in each state are unique to those states. I know most of you are saying, oh, I'm sure in every state I can accept a driver's license. Well, maybe, but in Alabama, it's not a big deal if the license is expired by a few days or a few weeks. But that may not be true in Georgia or Tennessee. It's possible that Tennessee allows you to use credible witnesses if the signer does not have a driver's license or any other acceptable form of ID. But in Alabama, you know, that's a no-go for us here. Each document that you notarize requires us notaries to make sure the venue is correct and up to date. And so if you're notarizing in a different state, you've got to pay close attention to make sure that every time you notarize, you're entering in the correct venue information. And while I know about Alabama counties, I know when I'm in Limestone County and Morgan County, but I'll be honest with you, I only know very little bit about the counties in Georgia and Tennessee. The other thing to keep in mind regarding notary laws is that laws change all the time. Now, granted, they're not changing daily, monthly, but they can change on an annual basis. What's in place today could change in a couple weeks once January 2025 rolls around. And so those of you considering going to other states, you're going to need to pay close attention not only to Alabama notary laws, but the laws in every state you choose to hold a notary commission. Georgia does not allow notary signing agents to take the lead in loan closings. Try doing that. You'll have the Georgia State Bar Association breathing down your neck. It hasn't been too long ago when the Bar Association in Georgia drafted what is called a white paper or a public service announcement and made it clear they're not playing around about notary signing agents performing real estate closings. And who knows what Tennessee feels about on that subject. And this also includes individuals like private residents of Georgia who don't want to pay a lawyer's fee for closing, but they want to get in their car and come to Alabama to have it done. I've been asked many times to do that, and I choose to decline based on what I know about the Georgia State Bar Association. And so again, if you're thinking about this, do your due diligence and make sure you are not putting yourself in harm's way. And then finally, there are some smaller nuances of each state. The one that comes to my mind readily is, even though I'm an Alabama notary, I have performed many closings for property that is located in the state of Florida, even as a signing agent and as a general notary. Because of my experience in the industry, I know if the property is located in Georgia, Florida, I'm going to use a blue ink pen to perform the notarization because the state of Florida wants blue ink on documents that are going to be recorded. Now, I know there's someone, well, you're in Alabama, it shouldn't matter, you have to follow Alabama law. I also run a business. Why would I want to use black ink knowing it will cause my customer a problem when it comes to them filing these documents? So it's very easy for me to use blue ink. And it's possible that Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia may have some little nuances as well. You'll want to find out about those. Those things may not always be written down or in a handbook or part of someone's training course, but it's going to be up to you to add that information to your notary bag. So, what are my recommendations for you regarding leaving Alabama to go to Georgia, to go to Tennessee, because those are your only options that I'm aware of as a signing agent. And I'm going to even throw in as a mobile notary. When it comes to you acting as a business owner, I don't think that is an ideal situation. Why? We've covered it, part of it. The additional expenses for you to comply with all of the requirements to do it legally. Now, if you want to do it under the radar and wing it, that's on you. Again, that's not ideal. Um, I'm also thinking of the wear and tear. Now, for a few of you, you're right there on the border. And so you might say, hey, I'm 5 minutes away. That's not going to be a whole lot of wear and tear on my vehicle. All right. But for many people, it would mean. And so, how profitable is it really as a notary business owner for you to jump through the hoops of being a legal business owner in another state? My other recommendation, if you're still interested, make sure you get legal advice and make sure you buy errors and omission insurance. I kid you not. Oh, I'm careful, Michelle. I know what I'm doing. Um, Based on everything we've covered, I think you're going to run into situations where that could be the legitimacy of your non-resident commission could be challenged. Having E&O insurance for that state gets you money that can be used to hire a lawyer or pay attorney fees and allow your attorney to sort it all out and represent you in court. Another reason why I don't think it's a good idea, I think being statewide, covering Alabama is wide enough. We have 67 counties. I think there's enough work in Alabama with proper marketing and making smart business decisions. Instead of looking to other states to perform notarizations, work on getting the names and contact information of notaries in these bordering states that you can refer work to them and they can refer work to you. To me, that is a better approach. And not only notaries, but companies market to companies in the border states who probably have Alabama customers and become their go-to signing agent or notary here in Alabama. Remember, when you are hired by a title company or a signing service, what you do, right, wrong, or indifferent, does not only impact you. And so if I accept a loan closing in Georgia and I am not, and I have not taken all of the steps I need to ensure that I'm satisfying all of Georgia's requirements, I'm not only putting myself at risk, the liability extends to the title company, the lender, the signing service. I'm putting them at risk as well. Because when it's time for a lawsuit, you best believe the signer's attorney is going to cast a wide net and name everyone in the room a defendant. You don't need that heartache. You don't need that headache. The last referrals that I want to cover is for those of you who may become a notary for an employer. I don't see that as an issue at all. I encourage you to make sure you are organized, very organized. What do I mean by that? Just dot your I's, cross your T's. Remember, just be real clear on when you're wearing your Georgia or Tennessee notary hat. And that means a different seal, different venue, different information, state and county. You might even want to give some thought to whether you want to have a different journal for that state. There may be different journal requirements for Georgia and Tennessee. That's what I mean by being organized. And be a notary law expert, not only in your home state, but in the non-resident state as well, staying current. Make sure you go ahead and become an NNA member so that you can access their hotline for some support. And you do go on their website and check out the US notary information that we took a look at to make sure you're not confusing your home state laws with the non-resident state where you're performing notarizations. In closing, jurisdiction matters a lot. Don't take it lightly. And I want to refer back to my hero, Michael Closen. In Notary Best Practices, he writes, if a notary performs a notarization in a location where he or she is not empowered to act as a notary, the notarization is null and void. It's as if it never happened. That would be horrendous. You're going next door to neighboring states, performing notarizations, getting paid for it, moving on, thinking it's business as usual, and then 6 months or years later, you are finding out that that transaction was considered null and void. I would not want to be in your shoes. If you found the information in this video helpful at all, please let me know in the comments below. And if there was some aspect of crossing state lines, jurisdiction, venue that you have a question about, add that to the comments as well. And then finally, if there is another topic related to being an Alabama notary or a notary in general that you would like for me to tackle in an upcoming video, let me know that in the comments as well. Those of you who are subscribed to this channel, my channel, Notaries for Alabama, thank you. Thank you so very much. It means a lot to me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do so if you'd like. But most of all, thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.